Hello, everyone. Welcome to Asha's World. Today, we have a very special guest, Dr. Virginia Ungar, and she is also the Sigourney Award winner for this year. Welcome to Asha's World, and congrats.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to have this conversation with you.
I'm very much looking forward to it. But to get us started here, how would you briefly describe yourself? What would you say about yourself here to our audience?
Oh, a good question. Good question. Yes, I'm a woman first. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I lived all my life here. I started to think about becoming an analyst when I was in university, college, you would say in the United States, but here it's a university. I started studying anthropology. Then I started my first analysis when I was 17 years old, because my father suggested me, if he asked me if I would like to see an analyst, and I said yes, but you have to take into account that this is Argentina. So this is Argentina. You know that it's famous for, the amount of psychoanalysts and psychotherapists we have here, but also because they are very good trained and there is good and very good analysis here. So I started my first analysis, and in the second year, I decided that I wanted to become an analyst. And during that time, it was, needed a request to be an MD or an MD. So I left anthropology, and then I went to medical school, and this was a very, very good period of my life. I've learned a lot, not only about my body and the way it functions, but also because I was able to be in contact with a different, how can I say this? Different people. This is where I learned about diversity, because here, as you know, university is free. There are some private university, but I'm a product of public education, elementary, high school, and university, public for free. So the last 3 years of the School of Medicine, you go every day to a hospital. So I was able, public hospital. So I was able to, to know people. Amazing. It was an amazing experience. And I started so you asked me how I describe myself. I'm a woman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a psychoanalyst, and I'm interested, in every, expression of culture. And as you know, I was president of the IPA for a period, 2017 to 2021, and then I became interested in politics. So now I'm interested.
You were the first woman to become.
Yes.
Congrats to that too. I mean, since Freud's time, that was you're the very first one. So a pioneer as well. It's wonderful. And so
Yes.
I also kind of interested in, because it goes back to Freud of having that medical degree to become a psychoanalyst. And so he was also interested in anthropology in a way, because that's what you do with psychoanalysis. You dig into, you look for traces and signs, you dig into your childhood. So I find it's really important for his worldview as well, talk about Freud, of like diving into that. How did that influence your decision too, of like, looking deep inside and finding things from the past that influence the present?
Yes, when I was very young, it was, very important, and I was attracted to the fact that digging you can find traces of the past, and I imagine myself as an archaeologist. But then I have to tell you that now I have a different view. I think that do you want me to tell you about
sure,
this?
yeah, I'd love to hear.
Now, I think nowadays and today, I think that psychoanalysis is a combination of digging into the past, but also I think that during an analytic treatment, psychoanalytic treatment, there is something that is created within the analytic couple that can be completely new.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I love that. I think that's one of my criticism, if you like, of Freud, where he talks about the epiphany, the insight, and then you're done. And I think, no, you're not done. Let's take it to the next step. What do we do with it? You need to guide us. And somebody like Otto Rank, I love, who was his secretary at the time, but he really showed up like the creativity is important, the relationship between the analyst and the client and all that. And the existential part of it is like, what comes next? How do I incorporate this knowledge into my life and learn from it? And I love what you're saying, because it feels like, yes, that's the direction you will be taking.
Yes, I think that it is very important to take into account that we are also working with novelties, you say, new things that are created within the analytic couple. There is, a very interesting article and a book from an Argentinian couple. No, they were not Argentinian, but they were born in France, the Baranger. So they spoke about the analytic link. So something new is created between, with the encounter of two minds. And of course, it's a combination of digging into the past, but also give the possibility, in a way, as a psychoanalyst, you offer your mind, you offer your mind as a playground, in a way, where something new can be created. So this is the emphasis this is what I would like to emphasize today.
And that's what a relationship is, because you have two individuals who combine and they create something new, which is the couple, right? The relationship or friendship, or any kind of relationship that we have with others. And so when we look at also like somebody like Melanie Klein, who talks about, again, relationships, object relations, and so on. So it becomes so important to make sure that you are not dragged down by the past, that the past is not limiting you, that the past is not taking you in the wrong direction. And again, by undigging all the pain, suffering, trauma that we have, misconceptions, so you can free your mind, and then you can choose better, and your relationships will become better, and you love better, and so on. So yeah, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Wonderful. And so, but your focus is also a lot on children and adolescents. Is that correct? So that's what you look at. So what are some of the challenges now, especially in modern times, with technology and with like access to information and social media and so on? What would you say? What are some of the things we need to watch out for in today's world?
Yes. I've studied a lot the issue of, how information is given now. And of course, the change in culture from the times in which when psychoanalysis was born, it was in modern era, in the Victorian era. So there was a different concept of the role of men and women, family configuration, sexuality. So Freud made a huge revolution, but I think that we have to take into account now more than ever the relationship with the external world. My roots are Kleinian and post-Kleinian in terms of analytic schools, but I think that today we have to take into account the context. This is from my point of view, the most important thing now. So children are raised in a different way. I've always been a child analyst and an adolescent. I love to work with adolescents and children. And they taught me a lot. They taught me a lot. They taught me a lot because they oblige you to talk in a simple way. And I sometimes, frequently, people say that I speak in a simple language, conveying very, very complex ideas. And I think that this is, I have to thank my experience with children. So I think that we have to take into account that part of, or the most important part of their lives they live in media, you know. The whole world is here. So I'm basically optimistic, so I don't take this as a tragedy. I think that an analyst has to be very careful and not to take sides like technology will kill creativity, will make a disaster. On the other hand, I don't think that if we are working with an adolescent, I think it's not a good position to let them know that we are, we are friendly. It's okay. This is what is happening now. But I think the most important thing regarding information and in a way universally this is something that is happening all over the world. And I think that we have to take this into account to see how somebody uses technology.
Exactly. I see it as a tool. Exactly. So it's an opportunity, but how do we use the tool, right? And you can use it for good things or bad things. You can use it in a moderate amount, or you can use too much of it. But I think the opportunity is there, and we're having this conversation thanks to technology. It would not have been possible in the past, right? So so I don't think it's an either or issue or a good or bad thing. That's another time we talk about that. Like, don't just like choose one side here, but really like look at it in terms of like what can it bring to you, and so as what kind of tools should especially younger children and adolescents use it for? What would you recommend? How can technology help them to kind of grow as well and not have a negative effect on them? What are some tips you might have for them?
And I think that psychoanalysis is in a way accepting this, because this is reality. This is the reality we live in. There is a debate regarding analysis for analysts. I think that my position is that at least you have to meet for some time in person, because to become an analyst without, seeing what, at least a small amount of time, I don't think it's possible. But it gives us tool. During the pandemic, I was the president when the pandemic started. So we made the necessary change very fast. So all the teaching went to online, even the analysis, supervision. We organized seminars, webinars, and we needed to be in contact because in different countries there were different policies of isolation, but we needed to be in contact in order to be able to contain our patients. So we were and we still are in the same boat. Patient analysis, we live in the same world and we are sharing the same reality nowadays with the war. So, reality, what it was called external reality, it enters in your consulting room. There's no way to deny it.
And,
no
I've
way.
always thought of normal. What is normal is what is the norm. So if everybody is using technology and you don't use technology, then you're not falling into that norm and you're kind of excluding yourself from it. So I know parents who don't allow their kids to use technology, and I feel they're doing actually harm. I mean, they mean well, but they're doing harm because you're excluding the child from connections with others, which is through technology. They don't have things in common anymore. So I think, as you say, the context and the times are important of adjusting to that. And if you look at children, the perception of children when you go back to like 19th century and again Victorian times as well, they were seen as mini adults. There was like, oh, and basically just like anybody else who didn't have. I know Freud brought it into the discussion, right? But it was just treated as like any other person, and they would work. Right? There were no child labor laws and so on. They were treated like adults. And today, I think we're just not giving them enough credit because I think their opinions really value. They have things to teach us, and we see it's like top down. Or I'm the parent, I'm the authority, and you obey me, and that's not working well either. So, how can we find that right balance there too, in terms of parenting and education?
You are right. I think that we can think that there was a time when psychoanalysis started, where all the focus was on the patient. Then with the English School of Psychoanalysis, on the analyst because of countertransference. A third time was the analytic link. But now I think that we cannot exclude what is happening in the context in which that analysis is taking place. So I think that it is important, and not only to listen to children. Yes, I think that it's very important to listen. Children were not listened because they were considered a different word, but now you have to listen to children. And I think that we have to tell them. A friend of mine, Florence Guignard, wrote beautiful words about what child analysis means today, but she referred to the whole population. You have to let the kids know that if you're feeling anxiety, it's not an illness. This is something that everybody has anxiety. If he's scared of something, okay, let's talk about this. So I think that it is important to listen to the children and adolescents, because adolescence, is a crucial point in our development. That all movements of big changes came from that age. So we have to pay attention, and we know that going into the adult world nowadays is not easy. With the amount of violence, and it's not easy. So we have to pay attention to them.
And I think gender comes into play too when we talk about, again, boys who are not supposed to cry or, again, show anxiety and so on. They're supposed to be tough. And thank goodness this is changing, but it's taking a lot of time. The paradigm really needs to change of really opening up to your feelings, right? And so I have an adolescent boy, he's 14, and I've always encouraged that, express. You if you want to cry, you cry. You just let it flow. These are emotions. This is being human, and if you don't do, it's not human. And I've also found it interesting how the research shows that the easygoing children or babies are actually the ones that have issues. So it's not good that they're not crying. So crying is an important part of our existence of living life, right? And being open to an anxiety and all those. They're emotions, and they're there, and we have to acknowledge them.
You are right, because if you see a kid that has no symptoms or no even worries, or I think as a psychoanalyst that he or she is over-adapting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We call it over-adapted kids. So they seem nothing happens. They are good students, but to deal with emotions is not simple. And also, parents now are not able to give their time to children. It's not, some of them, it's not that they don't want, they cannot.
Yeah.
You know, the pressure to success, for success, I don't know what success means. I don't know what success means. But, you know, the pressure has, you know, you have to earn money, to have enough money to pay very good schools, so they will go to very good universities, so they will get a very good job. So it's the culture that is
Yes.
putting pressure
And
on
it's
parents.
yes, exactly. The parents, because they have to work, and then they put the same mentality and worldview onto their kids, who then are encouraged to work extra hard. And for what? Again, that idea of success, I love that. Where you say, well, what is success? You know, and
I must confess, I don't know what success means. I
and
don't know.
and and we're often driven. I think that's it. So what I love about kids, specifically younger children, their sense of play, because when they're engaged in play, and that's me at when I'm in the zone, like podcasting or reading a good book or attending an opera, I am in that zone, which I love, and time it stops. There's no time. There's no, I don't even exist anymore. You become one with the activity, whatever that is. And that taught me a lot of things, just watching my child who gets enveloped in that. And I find it's not encouraged enough, because parents often like try to pull them away from it. Or in school, you're just like, okay, no, don't daydream. You need to focus on this, which is probably quite boring stuff for them, right? Specifically. So, and we get issues with that too, where people overprescribe medication because apparently they can't focus. But some of the stuff is boring, and it's natural to drift away and so on. So I think there needs to be more acknowledgement of the point of view of children specifically.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was, and I'm still am, and I will be interested in children. And I worked a lot in the institutional world, trying to put child psychoanalysis, child and adolescent psychoanalysis in a good place. And I think that's part of what I've done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that's wonderful. So was mostly Klein the influence you have, your approach, or what are you looking at specifically here? What
no,
is
so now today I'm I work with children, but not with little children, because I'm aging, and I think that they need to be in contact with young people. But I work on assessment and supervisions and clinical discussion, and I'm still working with adolescents. And even if I know that they think that they belong to a different world, and that I belong to a world that I don't understand them, but when you come to an agreement with an adolescent, it's it's rewarding to work with them.
yeah,
Yes,
oh,
yes,
wonderful.
that's so creative. So yes, yes, yes.
And giving them the freedom to develop that, though, and I think that's important for them to explore, and to saying, like, not like pushing them in a certain direction, which sometimes parents, they mean well, that they try to like send them in a certain path, which often is their own path, not the child's path or the adolescent's path. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that what you mentioned is very important, the importance of playing. Playing, but playing is not only to play with toys. Playing has to do with creativity, the most important part of our world, so our internal world. So to be playing, Winnicott said that playing heals
Yes.
in itself.
Yes.
But when you have a kid with suffering, symptoms, phobias, or whatever, it is not enough to play. You, the child, or your patient, your little patient, needs to know that we are playing, but that I'm trying to think about what's going on. Not only playing. There is an adult who is trained for that, who can think about what is going on. So it's very interesting, the work with children.
And to take that, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, and so to take it into our own adult lives too, because we're so, as you say, focused on success, and we're stressed and so on. And when you're stressed, you can't play. I think the two, like they don't really work. You need to be relaxed and open to be able to receive information and creativity. And so to bring a more playful, more relaxed attitude to the workplace, for example, I think that would be very, very helpful too for adults.
Of course, and you know, moreover, in a way, the children's play is equivalent to the adults' dreams. So Melanie Klein said that she interpreted the play of children in the same way she interpreted dreams to adults. So this is, if you don't have an relaxing atmosphere, you will see that you will not remember your dreams. This is, yes. During these days that are so stressful, so patients are having difficulties, you know, with remembering, because we always dream, but you need to remember the dreams.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think the pandemic has been also very tough on children and adolescents specifically. I mean, for everyone, right? Everyone is affected by it. But for them to be in that where you try to make sense of what does this mean? It's like a very unusual event that happened, and everyone suffered from it. But I'm not sure that they were really taken into account there, that they were really acknowledged enough, helped enough. And so I think that needs to shift, and we still need to work on that, right? It's not over yet. There's still like lingering effects of the pandemic.
You know, what I found out regarding children and young adolescents is something that was very, very difficult and sad, because you know that they were aware of something that was terrible, that they could be the way his or her grandparents could get ill and die. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they were asymptomatic and they can have the virus and infect. And so this was the most painful thing I faced when I treat, you know, in child treatment, because they took care of there was an inversion of the generational way of dealing with life, so they had to take care of the elder. So it was very painful. And we are still seeing, the consequences. Kids that have, trouble to sleep, eating disorders, phobias, they don't go out. They don't want to go out. Yeah. We are still dealing. Yeah.
But in many ways, the good thing, and I always like you talk about optimism, and that's always my view too. The good thing is, I think, like especially also with my son, he's been very helpful to adapt to technology. Like he's my source, so I think in many ways he feels validated because now my dad needs help for his work and for what he does. So it makes them feel important, which is true, and they should be. It should be like that. Yeah,
it's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
We reach out for help because they do. This is their world, and I found it also interesting because it gives me a glimpse into how he perceives things through technology and the importance for him. I just wish you had both of them, because our generations had a time where we didn't have technology, and we do have it. So we have both worlds, and I think a lot of kids, children, and young adults have missed out on that. They don't know. They can't imagine a world without a smartphone, without technology, and we can, right?
But
so, yeah.
Let me tell you something else I found out. I found out that, when I see in my playroom, my office for children, a child, I don't offer, electronic devices. I offer the same simple toys I offered 30 years ago. And they play.
Oh, that's good.
Play. They play. Only once a kid asked me, do you have a laptop? And I said, yes, I have it, but it's better for us to play. And that was it. Of course, they bring their phones and they see, oh, I want to show you that little girl that I like her. She sent me a message. Or they want to you to listen to a song that is changed his or her life. Okay, but I think that I felt relieved that they can play with simple toys. What they play with what they have.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. And I was also curious. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Sorry,
no.
because regarding technology, they are like DJs. You know that DJs combine music and sound, so they combine and they create, even with technological devices, the children.
I like that. Yeah, again, immersing them into another world too. And I know with my son, he says he doesn't like small talk because, and that's probably technology because you're like straight to the point. And it's like, but we went to a friend's place and he enjoyed talking. And he actually told me after that, it's like, it was a great conversation. And he was without his phone the whole evening through, which was an accomplishment. So as you're saying, it's quite possible. We just have to maybe nudge them a little bit, push them slightly in that direction.
Yes, to expose them to art, to take them to, exhibitions, concerts, music, dance. Yes.
And something I'm quite fascinated about is why do you think is psychoanalysis so important in Argentina? And you mentioned that as a teen, as a young adult, you were kind of encouraged to see an analyst. I wish somebody had done that with me. I grew up in Germany, and it would have helped me a lot. I think I would have been developed much differently, much faster than that. So why is it resonating so much specifically in Argentina? What would you say?
This is a question that I've been asked about this. I have my own theory. I don't know, because this belongs to the, social studies field. But, and the other thing is why it took so long to have a female president of the IPA.
That is a very good question. Yes.
Difficult to understand. The first, I think, but this is my idea. Argentina is a country of immigrants. It has 200 and more years, but it was, it is a country that was built up with immigrants. And I think that immigrants wanted to give everything to their kids, for their kids to, in the modern ideal of progress, they wanted to give, and they gave to their children the opportunity to see an analyst. And it's still like that. My father was a physician. He was a radiologist. So he, there is a his little anecdote that I broke up with a boyfriend, and he saw me. He said, "Oh, you look sad. Don't you want to see an analyst?" And it happened that I saw one of the most important analysts in Argentina in the history of analysis, because his daughter went to school with me, to high school. So Jose Blecher, and my first interview was with him. So it was an amazing opportunity. I entered in psychoanalysis, my father took my hand and accompany. So I'm so grateful. But it wasn't a strange thing in Argentina. You go now to a public school and you ask all the class, 8 years old, 9 years old, do you know what an analyst is? And they raise their hand, 80%. Wow. So
but it's not like in the US and in Canada where I'm at, it's not as common. We're not as open to that. And it's often frowned upon because it's not seen as a science, quote unquote, and so on. So and I'm worried about that because for the longest time I studied it a bit and I thought, well, there's psychoanalysis, but until I actually took it seriously over the past 5 years or so, where it's like, no, the unconscious is real. This is real. This is making a difference. And it changed my life completely. And I wish I had done that much earlier, so I'd be even happier.
I was lucky. Well, I have to tell you that I was lucky. I was born in a country that gave this opportunity. And, the first Psychoanalytical Association was founded in 1942. So with mostly immigrants that came escaping from the Nazi regime in Europe, and some others who were there, and there was they met and they made it, grow in such an amazing way. I cannot say that today psychoanalysis is, like it was when I was an adolescent, because there are other ways, other kinds of psychotherapies, they are good, but I'm still in favor of psychoanalysis going deeper and deeper. Yeah.
So am I. So am I. And congrats to winning the Sigourney Award, which again shows your contributions to the psychoanalytic field. So congrats to that. Well deserved. And Dr. Virginia Ungar, you're a psychoanalyst, ex-president at the IPA. And thank you so much for being in Arash as well. It's such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to talk with you. Thank you.